vitamin C. Here we go.
Yay!
Welcome back to Tips from Your Boyfriend. We've been on hiatus for 2 weeks. Last weekend we wanted to do it, but we were feeling a little bit under the weather, and so we decided not to. Everything's fine, obviously, but we just had low energy, and we wanted to save filming or live streaming until we were at higher energy.
Exactly, give him 100% when we do these. Thank God for oregano oil. I swear that's like what helped us not actually get sick. I swear by that stuff. Used to kind of think it was a little bit woo-woo taking the juice shots, but
I still think it's a little woo-woo.
but it worked. We never got like fully sick.
Yeah. I don't know if it's because of the oregano oil or just because of our immune systems.
Either way, we're glad we didn't get fully sick. We got some rest, and so now we're fully energized to show up today.
So what's the tip of the day? Tip of the day is to, when you start feeling sick, to take something with oregano oil in it.
Yeah. Oregano oil, I would say use it sparingly. Only a couple drops if you're ever going to use it in like a juice shot or something. But it's an antiviral, like a natural antiviral. So colds and flus are generally antiviral. And so that's one way of kind of nipping them in the bud before they turn into something. So I learned that when I was in Equinox, because like working in a gym as a personal trainer, it's like you're just in germ city basically, and people would get sick all the time. And so one of my coworkers was like, hey, this is what you need to do in order to like prevent getting sick all the time. And it really did help. I feel like it boosts your immune system.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, take vitamin D, vitamin C, take all like the
that's the thing,
general,
is I
like,
just throw everything in the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Because it'll help your immune system fight anything I have off. But that did help us, I think. It helped with the sore throats, that kind of thing.
Then I think just taking care of our bodies in general on a regular basis. That way when it's like, when you do get sick, you're not like scrambling. But if you're keeping your immune system, like we're trying to keep it boosted and healthy in general, I feel like you won't get hit as hard, generally speaking.
Right. But like, I don't know. I still think taking like oregano oil is a little bit of woo-woo. Because it's like, I don't know what it is about it. It reminds me a little bit too much of like essential oils and like the whole culture surrounding around essential oils.
But like, that's the thing. Like, you can't just say that that's like a cure-all for like everything, right? Like the whole thing with essential oils is like, everyone's like, well, this is going to cure cancer if you rub this like lavender oil behind your like elbow or whatever it is. Yeah. Or like putting this thing underneath your foot. Yeah. So I feel like that, and they're not science-backed, whereas I feel like this has a little bit more science behind it because like we know it's an antiviral. And okay. And it's not like a panacea for everything.
Right.
Or it doesn't try to be.
It's good. So, tip of the day, take some oregano oil.
Nah.
With your vitamin C and vitamin D and all the other stuff that you would take when you're feeling when you get a little bit of a cold.
All the sleep, all the naps.
Yeah, all the sleep. That's where your body fights it off. So that's the tip of the day. What else do you want to say about oregano oil? Like, I don't know. It tastes. What does it taste like? I feel like it's spicy.
It's spicy. That's the thing, is that like I had a friend one time who I like recommended using oregano oil, and I forgot to tell him, because it comes in like a dropper. I forgot to tell him that like only use like 2, maybe 3 drops of it, and he put like 10. He started burning his esophagus, and like, yeah, it was not good. He's like, it tastes like pizza.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, that must have hurt. That could not have been pleasant. Yeah, so if you're going to use it, 2 to 3 drops, like, max.
And what do we get? We got juice shots from Whole Foods? What
yeah, I think it's Vivo, I want to say, is the brand, I think. But they keep it in, like, the juice section in, like, the supplement aisle. There's, like, a bunch of juices. And so, like, I'll look at the ingredients. And, like, if it has ginger, great. If it has, like, echinacea, great. But oregano oil is usually the ingredient that I'm looking for when I look at those.
And those are what, like $3 a shot or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like a shot to your system, which is a good thing. Hopefully, like you should really be buying those pretty rarely, and only when you feel like you have a cold setting in. You know what I mean? Just to get ahead of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yep.
Besides that, it's like,
I agree, for sure.
Just drink some orange juice, get the vitamin C in, get vitamin D, get outdoors or something like that. And if it's freaking cloudy all the time, every day, all day, then get some vitamin D supplements.
Yeah.
because we take what, vitamin D supplement, but like, is there any like natural sources of vitamin D?
I mean, mostly the sun. Mostly the sun. I know that food has some vitamin D in it, but I don't think it's as readily absorbed. And I can't think off the top of my head. I want to say like dairy, but I'm not quite sure that that's accurate, so don't quote me on that.
Yeah. And if you're struggling to get sun during winters, then yeah, supplements the way to go.
Yeah.
And like, I think that'll help a lot with just immune system and mood in general during the winters. Because I think a lot of people get like super sad and depressed during the winter.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
they don't get enough sun. They don't get outdoors enough. They're stuck indoors. They're cooped in with like their stale air, especially if like if you're really well insulated apartment or house.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
That's why I know that this is going to be a bit controversial to say, but I don't believe in wearing sunscreen during the wintertime. Unless you're like snowboarding and you know that there's like sun reflecting off the snow and you're going to get sunburned. Like outside of that, it's like any vitamin D that you can get, like get it. I feel like that's a priority over like preventing aging, which we don't necessarily know that's to be true. Sorry, I know that's a controversial take, but that's just something that I personally practice.
Yeah. I guess sunscreen is generally a good idea if you're going to be spending hours and hours in like direct sunlight, but typically you won't get that in winter.
Yeah.
And so like even on the ski slopes, what's going to be exposed? Like your face the entire time, right? And so like you should be doing something with your face anyways when you're skiing, because like it's not so much the sun that's going to be doing damage. It's going to be like all like the snow and cold air that's going to be blowing in your face the entire time that's doing so much damage as well. But I agree in general, like if you're out about in winter, you don't particularly need sunscreen. I think that you need the vitamin D more so than like any damage that the sun might do in the winter times.
Yeah, because like when I'm trying to make like health decisions that are a little bit more like you could go either way, so to speak, like I always try to think of like, well, what am I gaining versus what am I losing? Like, and in this situation, I feel like the priority is keeping my immune system healthy. So like getting that vitamin D that's like a lot harder to get right now is more important than preventing aging in this particular situation. So that's always something that I try to weigh when I'm making decisions is what do I gain? What do I lose? What's my priority?
Agreed. And so like none of these things is a cure-all for anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like do things in moderation, do things consistently, and you'll generally have a healthy outlook in life and healthy just feeling overall. But I feel like we've gotten so far away from oregano oil at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Well, I mean, how much can you say about it, right? So we're
that's
good.
true. Yeah. I need to do a little more research because it still sounds a little woo-woo to me. So I'm just like, I take the juice shots.
You did not get sick this week. It worked.
She buys me the juice shots. I take the juice shots. I'm not complaining. You know what I mean? Her intention is to make me healthier. So like, I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I got your back.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with oregano oil. Like if she asked me to like rub essential oils on my chest to make me healthier, I'd be like, nah, I'm good.
There's a line.
Probably not going to hurt anything, but nah, I'm good. All right. So at the bottom of the screen, we should have today's topics. Tip of the day was about the oregano oil, and then we also want to talk about the green flags in relationships and any New Year's resolutions that we wanted to share and see if we're going to be able to hold ourselves to in this coming year. You want to start with green flags or resolutions?
Let's start with green flags. I feel like we were kind of talking about it last week, how a lot of times people always mention like red flags in relationship, but they never really talk about the green flags that you are looking for. And I feel like that's almost an important like perspective to shift, because when you're looking for the bad, like that's all you're going to see. Whereas like if you're looking for the good things, like that's what you begin to focus on. And I feel like that's a really good like perspective to have just in life in general, but like when it comes to relationships or finding a partner, like looking for like what are the good things here. I think is a good way of looking at it.
I know we didn't talk about this too much beforehand, so I don't want to
talk about it at all beforehand.
I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but like, it's easier to see red flags, right? Because it's like you see someone you're dating do something, and you're just like, no, like I don't want any of that, like part of that, right? But like, green flags usually go unnoticed.
Yeah.
And so like, what would you say is like a I don't know, like a easy to determine green flag that you might have seen or noticed before?
Yeah, one thing I really appreciated about you was that you were very generous from the beginning. Like that was something that was important to me. And like, for example, like I moved here from LA to Boston, and like I think it was like our second date, you gave me like the Charlie card, which is like the railway card, and you were like explaining the subway system to me, like kind of you're like, hey, you're gonna need this. This is how it works, and starting to explain, which I
Yeah.
funny side story, but like I only use that once since moving here because I don't like public transport. But it's a story for another day. But that was something that really stood out to me, was like your generosity, and like also to kind of like piggybacking off of that, it was a way of taking care of me even from the beginning. Like you were looking out for me, or you would do little things of like walking me back to my car, having me text you when I got home. Those were things that I really appreciated up front, because it showed like even from the initial stages of dating where we didn't even really know each other, you were still looking out for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate that. One of the green flags I think I saw in you was your level-headedness just from the start, where I don't know if there's like a better term for level-headedness. Maybe maturity is like a decent term for it, where it's like we'd be going on our first couple dates and there isn't any sort of like huge fluctuations or like weird jumps or like I don't know how to describe it, like mood swings or swings in opinion or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like some people just come to snap decisions or snap judgments, and they immediately flip a switch, and all of a sudden everything that might have been going good is now going bad, or everything that's probably wasn't going too great before is now all of a sudden good, and it's just like these weird like roller coaster ups and downs that would be considered a red flag. But like if you find somebody who is like even keeled, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a green flag.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that that person's not going to respond to like decisions or like bad situations or anything like that, you know what I mean? But like they will be even keeled about things, and they're not going to be like freaking out about it. They're not going to cause drama about it, and then they're not going to like I don't know how to describe it. It's just a maturity, you know what I mean? Someone who's immature
Sure.
is going to be someone who fluctuates a lot, someone who's going to be a roller coaster ride. And like when you're younger, maybe that's what you want because it's more fun, it's more interesting. But like at a certain point, the person you should be dating is a green flag, should be mature, level-headed, and somebody who isn't going to overreact to situations.
Yeah. I feel like consistency is a big one.
Right.
Like, to your point, you know, showing up consistently as
Right.
you are, instead
Right.
of having it be like you don't really know what's gonna show him next time you
Right.
see that person.
Right.
Yeah.
What was it? We were looking at a comedian recently who went on a date
This
and
is a good one.
he was describing his experience on that date, and he was concerned that he gave the girl the ick, is what he called it, right?
Yep.
Because when he was trying to open the door for her, he pushed instead of pulled. Like it was one of those doors that you're supposed to pull to open, but then he pushed it, and he pushed it a little bit too long till he realized that it took him like maybe like a second or two too long to realize it was a pull, that he got so embarrassed and he was afraid that he gave her the ick. But then he was talking also about it, how like he made the mistake twice, where the second time around it was a pull door instead of, well, it was a push door instead of a pull door, and it's like he tried to pull it.
She's just like standing back watching, like,
So it's like, in that situation, if I was the girl in this on this date, I wouldn't like think to myself that this person's a moron who doesn't know how to open doors and I'm never going to see this person again, right? It's just like being even keeled and mature about it is be like, okay, this person might be nervous, or this person might be whatever reason just like not thinking like or paying attention for whatever reason. Like there's a date, right? There's maybe like first or second date, so it's like you're still trying to get to know somebody, and so I wouldn't judge them for that,
Yeah.
or like think to myself, oh, I want to go on a second date with this guy because of that.
yeah. No, I think that's one thing that just being open and like kind of giving some like a little bit of grace room, you know, to be clunky in the first couple days. Like for example, like our first date was really clunky. Like it wasn't like the smooth like love at first sight like date. Like it was fine. There was nothing like wrong with it. It's just that there were a few like areas where like he was asking me about my work And because in the past I had had people kind of poo-poo me for being like a personal trainer, like I kind of thought that the way he was asking questions that it was kind of like condescending. And then I had literally just moved from LA to Boston the week before, and you're talking about how you always want to move to Colorado because you wanted to go skiing all the time, and I'm like, dude, I just got here. So in my mind, I kind of like wrote you off, but then you asked me out a second date, and so I was like, okay, like why not? Like, what do I have to lose? Like, could be fun. And I think for you, like you kind of come into the mentality of, oh, we lost the light.
We lost the light, went out of batteries. I'll have to charge that one.
You kind of came in with the mentality of like, let's just see, I feel like. And I think that that's important because I feel like people, if they don't feel that chemistry, like right off the bat, some steamy, passionate, whatever, they just kind of write it off immediately. Like, oh, it's not there. Whereas for us, it grew.
Yeah.
And I think just leaving room for that.
I think if people say a lot of things, just ideas come to their mind that they want to talk about or something like that. And then like being a mature person, you have to understand that like people sometimes say things just to have a conversation with somebody else.
Yeah.
Not because all of a sudden they're going to up and leave and go somewhere else or like really stay true to the words or something like that. But like just because like this is what they're thinking about at the moment in time and like it may or may not come past and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I talked about moving to Colorado. One of the reasons why I even talked about it is because me and my friend group at that time were consistently talking about moving to some place where there was better skiing. Like my buddy Evan, he ended up moving to Colorado because he wanted to be closer to the slopes and he thought it'd be slightly better for him out there. And like our friend group was all talking about it. And so like I was talking about it at that time too.
Yeah.
But I didn't move.
Yeah. But
I don't think I would have at all even.
Yeah,
like,
no.
if all of them moved, I think I would have just stayed here.
It's true.
I don't think I would have moved.
And that's the thing is like knowing you better, like absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful though that I didn't write you off after that first date because like we would have missed out on all of this just because we had like a little bit of a clunky first date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a green flag, even keeled.
Yeah.
Level-headed. It's another one you think.
Yep.
It's good for people to look out for.
100%.
What do you think is another one?
Oh. Like, yeah. Does their lifestyle align with yours as far as values? So, for example, for me, like trying to live healthy is it's really important to me. So like working out on a regular basis is something that's just a part of my lifestyle. It comes with a package with me. And then same thing with like trying my best to eat healthy. So if I were dating someone who never went to the gym, was smoking, whatever, it wouldn't have worked. And so I think for me, like that, having something that integrates with my lifestyle in that way, like those are core values for me. Like if you didn't have core values that aligned with that, it wouldn't have worked. So that would be a green flag for me.
I agree. Values are definitely a green flag. Everybody values different things. We're all allowed to value different things. You know what I mean? And so like respecting other people's values and then finding values in common with somebody would be 100% a green flag. But then like if you truly believe in something, but then the person you're dating believes in the opposite of that, maybe that's like a reddish flag. Maybe a yellow flag is a little better for it, depending on how strongly you believe in it.
Yeah. Like, for example, like, there are some people that don't want to have kids, and then they date someone who do want to have kids, and, like, that's one that's, like, I don't really think that's going to change. Like, if people date someone in hopes that that'll change one day, or same thing with, like, the whole getting married thing. There's so many people who are like, I never want to get married, and they date someone who does, and it's like, where do you go from there? You're asking someone to change a really deep core value.
Right. I was thinking marriage and kids are more like life goals instead of values.
That's
so
true.
Like,
that's a good
being
point.
Being family oriented is a value. Family oriented is somebody who like spends time with their family, enjoys like talking to them and keeping in contact, things like that. You know what I mean? Versus like wanting children is both family oriented, but it's also a life goal to have kids.
That's true.
And so like it's another green flag obviously is when you match with somebody in terms of life goals.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So like if you want kids and the other person doesn't want kids, you have different life goals. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's not so much a red flag because you're not finding like something that you find concerning in the other person. You're just
You're not
you're not matching
aligned.
in terms of
Yeah.
life goals. And like people can have different life goals, and that's completely fine. Like if you don't want to have kids, that's completely fine. You do you. Versus if somebody else does want to have kids, you guys aren't really gonna mesh.
Yeah.
And like that's one of those things that you should really look for in the beginning.
The very beginning,
Yeah.
yeah. Because otherwise, it's like if you go down that road too far and you fall in love, then that's going to be really rough down the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Life goals is a big green flag.
And I think, too, being clear about them up front. Like, I feel like that was something that you were very clear about when we first started dating was like you were very open about what you wanted out of life and just who you are as a person. Like, you weren't really hiding any of that, and you were making your intentions known from the beginning, which made it really clear as far as like, you know, what I knew I was getting into with you.
Yeah. So life goals, green flag. Values, green flag. I think you valued health a lot, which I also value health a lot. So that's where we meshed a lot. Obviously, I think you were more committed to health than I was, because like coming from the Northeast and Boston in general, there's like a drinking culture, and so once me and you started dating, I cut back in drinking by a lot,
Yeah.
and so that's been really good for me.
Yeah.
So I think I aligned more in that value with you than what I did previously. Another green flag though, because we did life goals, career, children, values in terms of like what we believe in. Think of anything else on top of your head?
Your turn.
I'm thinking.
I feel like I've been the one like saying stuff, so it's your turn.
I brought up life goals.
This is true.
Another green flag. I mean, one very clear green flag is if you're attracted to the other person.
Yeah.
Like if you go on a first date and you're clearly not attracted to the other person, or you feel very lukewarm about them, that's not something that's like a good start off. Versus like if you go on a first date and you're very clearly attracted to them, then that's a very good green flag that you should probably start to like take a little bit more seriously.
Yeah. Oh, I know a good green flag. When you call someone on the phone, that was like so sexy to me when you did that. There was like 1 week where like I was busy with work or something came up and I couldn't come over to visit. And you called me and I was like, he called me. Like that was really just like, that was sexy. Because it wasn't this like back and forth over text message and like the fact that he like wanted to see how my day was going and just like check in. I was just, loved that.
People are gonna think differently about that.
Yeah, but that's sad though, because it's just like I feel like a lot of people get in these situationships where it's like they feel like they know someone because they chatted with them over Instagram, and it's just like you don't hear voice, you don't hear inflections, you don't really know like the tone. It's different. Whereas like if you have someone who like picks up the phone, calls you, and like actually has a real live conversation with you, one that's not like you say something and then you edit it, and then you say something and you edit it, and it's like by the end of it, it's like not even really what you wanted to express, because if it's been edited so many times to seem like this cool little message that you're trying to convey, and I want the real.
No, I agree completely with that. Any sort of non-text communication, I think, is much better. There's a lot more nuance. There's a lot more meaning like that's going to be conveyed. There's a lot more communication in terms of you'd pick up exactly what I'd be putting down, versus like over text, a lot of it's muted.
Yeah.
And so it's much more difficult to kind of convey all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, everybody's different. And so like the way I'm thinking about this is generational differences. You know what I mean? Like we're millennials. Our generation's weird because I think that older millennials still really do appreciate that. Younger millennials don't appreciate that anymore.
Yeah.
Like there might be some outliers out there who are like mourning the death of voice conversations, like phone calls. But then there's many of them I think that would prefer text over most anything. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what it is about younger generations. I think that's because they just grew up over text, it being much more prevalent in their lives, that they prefer it. And I think that if you are younger and you do prefer text and the other person texts you, that's a green flag. versus if you are younger and the other person calls you or tries to call you. I wouldn't say that's a bad thing. I would definitely recommend trying to roll with it as much as possible, because I think that just talking on the phone is better.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider it a red flag. I also, but for younger generations, I also wouldn't really consider it a green flag. I don't know. What are your thoughts about text messaging for the kids?
I mean, it's how they communicate, right? It's like how you communicate with most people. But I feel like if you're intentional about dating and like, it's one thing if you're just looking for a fling, like whatever. But if you're looking for a relationship and someone that you're potentially going to invest a lot of time into and start investing yourself personally into, you want to get to know who that person really is. And you can't really do that over text message the way that you can in person or on the phone. Like even FaceTiming too, it's just like it adds another layer of like, I can actually see your facial expressions and like actually get to know like who you are instead of what you're showing me to be.
But do you think like phone conversations and even FaceTime would stress kids out?
They can get over it. It shouldn't be stressful. Like I know that a lot of people are like, oh my God, someone called me. But like at the end of the day, it's communication. And it's like, I feel like that's something that's being lost on younger generations now, where it's like they don't know how to communicate in person. And I feel like that's an important life skill to have.
I think they know how to communicate with their friends and family in person. I think that talking to strangers and immediately jumping to phone conversations, and especially especially among the younger generation, is, I don't know how to describe it. Harder? Not
Yeah.
harder. Not expected.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, as a girl and as me personally, when he called me, it really was sexy to me. And I
Okay.
liked that a lot. So I know that may not be everyone's jam, but for me personally, that was like a huge green flag for you. The fact that, because like
Got
I
it.
had dated other guys
Yeah.
in the past who wouldn't pick up the phone to call me if you paid them to. And so I appreciated that about you.
Good. I'm
Yeah.
glad. I did something right.
Did a lot of things right, babe.
No, I agree with that. I think phone conversations are a green flag to me also. Any sort of communication that is more nuanced and easier to understand.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, what else was a green flag? What do you think is another green flag?
I think the fact that you have really strong, like, loyal friendships. Like, you have friends going back from, like, middle school, and, like, you're intentional about reaching out to them and, like, seeing how they're doing. And I think that I appreciated that, too, knowing that it's, like, you're really loyal to people.
You think it's a red flag if it's someone who doesn't have any friends?
Yeah, 100%. Or if you have someone who like has a lot of falling out with people, like, oh, I used to be friends with this person, but then we had a fallout and we're not really friends and we don't really talk anymore. Like somebody who's like constantly burning bridges, like
Yeah.
that's another red flag too. Or if they, just have a really small life where it's like, no friends.
Yeah, I agree. I think that a solid friend group is a green flag.
Yeah.
There's a lot of signs about that kind of thing too, right? Like if you find somebody or you're getting to know somebody and then like they have like a solid friend group that they have been with, like friends with forever, and there hasn't been like too much drama or any sort of falling out with any of them, and they all kind of make the effort and they all kind of keep in touch and all that kinds of stuff, I think it's a solid green flag.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to overanalyze it, but like with friendships, it's like everybody brings something to a friendship, right? And if everybody consistently brings something to a friendship group, then you know that like they're good friends to have, essentially.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna have different friends. Like not everyone's gonna be friends with everybody else, but I think it's a good thing. Like if you have a friend group that you're friends with, doesn't matter what friends you are. Like if you met all your friends in football, if you met all your friends in the computer club, if you met all your friends through theater or like through video games or something like that, that's fine. As long as like you got a friend group, you're good. I think that's a good green flag.
Yeah.
You got your people, not in your family. I don't know. Another green flag on my part. I think that.
I just realized we've had music playing on in the background this whole time. Hey Google, stop playing.
I don't know if they could hear that.
I hope not. Sorry guys. Didn't realize there was like a Christmas soundtrack playing.
Where's my phone? I can shut it off. Google didn't hear you.
We have a Google Home over here, and so it's like we'll usually have like background music playing, and it's funny. It's been so soft and mellow that it's like we'll be watching TV or something, not even realize it's been going. So.
Yeah, it's because we have some like some piano Christmas music in the background, and so it's like background.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But red flag, Google Home in the house.
Whatever. I had to really convince him to like let us use it, but he's like, Google's spying us. But like we have Apple phones, and it's like they're listening to everything we say anyway. So what else is new?
But it's not like an explicit feature. You know what I mean? Like if you start complaining that the Google Home is listening to you, you can't complain because it's an explicit feature of the Google Home that it listens for, like, hey Google and all that kind of shit. Excuse me. Versus like of the Apple phones, like there's no explicit feature on here that it's supposed to listen to you.
Which I don't like. It's the fact that it's like it does listen to you, but they're not upfront about it. Because like I'll have conversations with clients at the clinic about like the Celtics or something like that. I hate the Celtics. I'm not a Celtics fan. Next thing you know, I'll be on Instagram and I'll see like tickets for like Celtics games. And I'm like, what? Or like I'll be talking about some random topic with them, and then I'll get some like advertisement for that. And so.
Yeah, but then I think that's the scandal. Like, there's no scandal if Google Home listens to you. But if your iPhone is listening to you, especially if you turn off Siri, then that's a scandal. It's not supposed to.
I know, but I'd rather no scandal.
Like all these, like Apple and all these other companies are consistently saying that they're not spying on your conversations. And so, like, if you talk about fridges and all of a sudden you see advertisements everywhere for fridges, everyone says that it's all just a coincidence. Like, everybody kind of agrees that they are fucking spying on your conversations, right? But, like, they say they're not. And so, like, if it's ever proved that they are spying, then there'll be a scandal for, like, Apple to do it. You know what I mean? Then they'll get sued. There'll be, like, damages and all kinds of stuff. It's not going to be good for the company. For Google, you can't sue them for spying on it. You know what I mean?
I know, but what you see is what you get. They tell you, hey, we're listening to you to, like...
I literally said Google, and then like it just like lights up and starts listening to us. It's like,
anyways, it's convenient. We can listen to music and ask it random questions when we have questions. And for cooking, it's very helpful because I can ask about measurement conversions. So.
Don't you have like a little sheet that has all the measurement conversions on it?
It takes time to do that. This saves time. Anyways, green flags. We're not talking about the red flags. We're talking about the green ones.
Green flag, no technology or phone addictions.
You are on your phone all the time.
I know, it's a problem. I'm not saying it was a green flag in me. But like, say you're hanging out with somebody, like you should hang out with them. Do something, talk to them, anything. Don't let them like get on their phone or go on your phone while hanging out with somebody.
100%.
That's so stupid.
I actually was on a date. I think it was before I met you, actually. Yeah, it was a date with a guy that I met before you. Anyways, I met up with him. First of all, he had lied about his height. He was like 3 inches shorter than what he had said he was. And then second of all, he was on his phone the entire time that we were on this date. Like literally he was like, just had it out checking, like didn't give me any excuse for it of like, hey, I'm working or like talking to friends or like any of that. He just like would randomly like pull it out and just like be on his phone for a few minutes and then like put it back. And like at the end of the day, like I got home because I was like, what the hell? I got home and he like messages me later that night being like, I had such a great time. Like, let's go out again. And I'm like, what date were you on?
Yeah.
Like, it was just so bizarre. It gave me the ick. Yeah.
Oh man, the ick. We should talk about that sometime too.
Yeah, that'd be a fun
like
one.
grossed out about something. Although I think that's more or less like exclusively for women. I don't know if men get the ick per se.
I'm sure they do, but the ick I feel like is such like an individual thing. Like what gives one person the ick isn't gonna give someone else the ick. Like I know some people that it's like if they see someone who has like really dirty nails, it gives them the ick, and they're just like, ew, no, like I would never date this person. Whereas like I don't think I've ever like checked out a guy's nails.
I felt like this idea became popular because so many people like resonated with it. You know what I mean?
That's true. But again, I think the most icks are like on an individual basis, though. Mm-hmm. But what would be an ick for you?
I don't know what an ick is.
See?
Like, I know what's gross or makes me nauseous, you know what I mean? But there's no, like, ick.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get that one, seriously.
I think it's like more of like a dramatic, like, it gets me the ick. Like, ew, like he wears shoes without socks. Like, that gives me the ick. Like, I feel like it's more that kind of a thing where it's just like, ew, like, why did you do that?
Like an ew?
Yeah, I think it's more like that, but like, I could be wrong. I am not up to date like terminology, but that's the way like I interpret it when people say it, they get the ick. So like for me personally, that probably would be an ick. If I see like a
Right.
guy wearing shoes without socks, I'm like, ew.
If I saw a girl wearing shoes without socks, I'd think they're like a hippie or like something like that. You know
It's
what
just
I
that
mean?
I do so much body work that like I think of like if that person like hopped on my like table and I had to work on them and their feet would just be so gross and I'm like, ugh. So that's and then also too just like the dirty hippie like ooh.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know about that one. I'd have to think about that one much more to try to understand it more. Like, I don't know if there's like a ick per
You
se.
even have to Urban Dictionary it, babe.
No, I know what the definition is. Fine, let's Urban Dictionary it. Why not? I'm gonna look up what the ick is, and then we could probably move on to New Year's resolutions. Unless you want to talk about more green flags. I don't know. It's just like when you go on a date with somebody and you see good things about them, those should be considered green flags, and you should be giving the other person a chance. Like, I know everybody's looking for chemistry, everybody's looking for a sense of humor and all that kinds of stuff, but it's just like life's is more about that than just that kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
You might not have chemistry with somebody on the first date, or like you might not have chemistry with somebody for like a friend of a friend for years, but then like immediately you click with them for some reason, for one thing or another, and then all of a sudden you have all this chemistry with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't give you an example, but it's like if you have a friend of a friend that you see every now and then, but you never got to know them, but you still talk to them every now and then, you see them at parties or whatever. If at one point like you guys connect about something, then all of a sudden you can become really good friends because of it. You know what I mean? Even though like you've seen each other, I don't know how many times, or like for relationships, right? It's just like, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, I think willingness to grow is a big one. Like, I think you and I were both, like, going back to the example, like, our first date being a little bit, like, awkward. Like, you and I were both willing to grow from it and kind of see where it went. And I think that that's a really big one of just kind of giving people that room instead of just being like, oh, well, that wasn't exactly how I wanted it to be. So, like, I'm writing this person off. What'd you find?
For the ick,
Yeah.
something someone does that is an instant turn off for you, making you instantly hate the idea of being with them romantically. So beforehand, you might see yourself dating somebody long term, but they do something, and so you immediately shuts off any sort of romantic thoughts for that person.
Yeah.
If we were to do like a sort of dictionary definition of it,
Yeah.
it's like, grossed out by something. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like,
Oh, I have an example for this one. There was a guy who was like crushing on like real hard for a while, and he tore his ACL and had ACL repair surgery. And like not even 2 weeks after having this repair surgery, he went to go shoot hoops with the boys, and he like tore his ACL over again and like ended up getting surgery again. It was just so dumb to me that it's just like any like feelings I had towards him were just gone.
if I had some sort of romantic interest in a girl, and then she did something where I have absolutely no more romantic interest in her after that, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
Well, like what if I grew out my armpit and like leg hair and we're like just like super hairy? Would that be the ick for you?
some guys will talk about it. That's gross, and they don't like that kind of thing. But it's just like, who cares? People are hairy.
It'd be cool if I just had like bush coming out. That wouldn't turn you off.
I like something that's like I don't know how to describe it.
I feel like heavy makeup would be a turn off for you. Like if someone had just like if I wore like all the like or had like the lip fillers
you know what it
or like
is?
things like that. I
Plastic
feel like
surgery.
yeah. Well, I had a nose job.
No, I
You
know.
can't
No,
say
no,
that.
no, 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 not like that. Not like that.
I feel
That's
like
not
if I looked really fake to you, that would be an ick for you.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, if you can very, very, very clearly see that somebody had work done, it's just like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I feel like that would be one for you. I don't know why the hair one wouldn't be to me. I'm like, ugh.
Well, that's the thing. I think women do it for themselves typically, that kind of thing, because it's like a beauty standard that women impose on themselves.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, that's weird.
Or they do it in some weird competition for the top guys because the top guys are just like, no, I don't like that.
I was about to say something mean
don't-
against New England women,
don't
but I
think-
can't say it.
I don't think majority of men care about that.
But
Because it's one of those things
I'd
where
be
it's
curious.
it's one of
Guys, if you're listening to this and like, let us know where you stand on this whole like body hair because I would be curious.
I just don't get things like that because it's like at one point in your life, like, you grow hair. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, it's strange to me where people get the ick on something that's just natural. It's unfortunate that people do that, you know what I mean? People get the ick because of like things beyond their control.
Yeah.
Like people grow hair, you know what I mean? But like people who lose hair, guys who go bald, like that gives many women the ick, which
Yeah.
is just like, he can't control it. You know what I mean? It's just genetics. Like what is he supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like it's natural. Many men go bald.
Yeah.
It's like, but then like it's something like that's beyond their control and it gives girls the ick, and so it's like it's infuriating honestly for them probably.
Yeah, but then there's some women who are like super into that and like love a bald man. So it's like, again, I feel like the ick is just like a very individual topic.
And there's some guys that like girls with hair.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like I feel like the ick is a very individual thing.
No, I think there's a lot of things in common, honestly, babe. I don't know.
I feel like most guys would disagree with you on the body hair one. I really think so. Anyways, let's
No,
move on
I
to
think,
New Year's.
babe, I think most guys you ask might have a preference. It's like, would you take the exact same girl, one with armpit hair, the other one with less armpit hair? Which would you prefer? I think 99% of guys would choose the girl without armpit hair. It's like a personal preference thing, you know what I mean? But take the exact same girl and that you want to date. If you take her with armpit hair versus take her without it, would that be a deal breaker for you?
Well, that's the
99% of guys will be like, no.
I feel
it's
like
not a deal
unless-
breaker. But then it's like 99% of them will just be like, okay, there's a personal preference to like, yeah, like
I don't
somebody
think so.
who's-
I think if a girl showed up to a date in a tank top, like a first date in
Mm-hmm.
a tank top, raises her arms and like her armpit hair is like long enough where you could like cornrow it, I feel
Mm.
like guys would be like, nah.
No, I don't think so. I
I'm
don't know what kind
curious.
of I don't
We'll
know
have
what
to have
kind of
a
guys
poll.
you're talking about.
We will have to
I
have
think
a
there's
poll.
like guys out there who are spoiled for choice, who are like the most attractive, and so the woman chase them. Those guys can probably get away with it. My vast majority of guys will not have like any sort of preference on that kind of thing. They just won't. Not a preference. They'll have a preference, but it won't be a deal breaker for them. I just don't know what to tell you.
Agree to disagree. New Year's.
Mm.
Today is New Year's. Moving on.
New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I noticed there's a huge trend right now on Instagram where it's like the ins and outs list. And it actually kind of drives me crazy because like instead of having like a resolution of like, okay, here's like a goal of mine for this next year or like a couple goals, it's like instead, which we know doesn't really work. Most people like, I think they said resolutions are generally broken within like 3 weeks.
Yep.
But now we've moved on to these like massive lists of like 10 things of like 10 ins, 10 outs. And I'm just like, people aren't even going to remember what they said was an in and what was an out within like 3 days after New Year's. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's just like this ridiculous list. So instead, I think we were going to talk about what is like something that you learned this year that you want to take into next year. Just like one or two things.
Well, I feel like really quick on the ins and outs. Isn't that just a social media trend?
It is.
It's like fashion trends. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like one day big coats are in.
Yeah.
Next day big coats are out. And the
Right.
day after that
But
big
I'm
coats are
just
in.
saying-
And so it's like, who cares?
I know, but for me personally, like, it drives me nuts. Every time I've seen like 30 posts just today of these ins and outs, and these lists drive me nuts. Like, the trend drives me nuts.
Yeah, but people are just jumping on the bandwagon, like
I
kind
know,
of thing.
but that's why it annoys me.
Oh, come on.
Anyways, so what's something you learned this year that you want to take into next year?
Something I learned in 23 to take into 24. Oh man, for me, I think it's just like, it's actually a good question. I stopped drinking in 22, didn't I?
Yeah.
So that's not a 23 thing anymore.
Well, you started in 22, but it was most of 23 because you went until September, until like our wedding event stuff.
I would say just keep doing that, where it's just like, there's no reason to drink outside, like to drink alcohol, have a beer. And there's no reason to have beer outside of like when you meet up with some friends every now and then, right? Like at this point in our lives, like we meet up friends every now and then, so like you have like 1 or 2 beers with your friends and then just call it a day. Like I'm not dealing with hangovers. There's no way.
Yeah.
Like if I'm ever hungover the next day, it takes me like 2 days to recover.
Yeah.
If you're younger and you recover better, it's like that's up to you. But like I think even the younger generation now is like not drinking alcohol anymore.
Yeah.
How many commercials have we seen like for all these like breweries that are making like non-alcoholic beers now?
Well,
It's like becoming a trend.
I was gonna say they're actually opening up stores in like New York City and LA that are like purely like mocktail and like non-alcoholic beverages.
To keep with the culture of drinking, but without the negative effects, right?
Right.
Negative like health effects.
Right.
Which is like, I think that's just a stopgap because like if you just have like alcohol-free Guinness, how long are people going to drink alcohol-free Guinness until they just substitute it with like water or something else? You know what I mean? I think it's the death knell of the alcohol industry if people stop drinking.
Yeah, I feel like it's their way of pivoting so that they can like kind of save face for a while. It's like, okay, let's give something sugary or like whatever
Right.
instead that they're going to be addicted to that way.
Yeah, try to do the same taste,
Yeah.
but none of the effect. And like, I think that's good for people who are already drinking, who want to be healthier.
Right.
But people who have never drank a lot of alcohol, just because there's a non-alcoholic beer, is not going to bring them into like that whole culture.
Yeah.
There's no reason to, you know what I mean? Like, I think many times people get into drinking is because they want to get a little buzzed or get drunk and have fun with friends and like lower their inhibitions and all that kinds of stuff and just like have a blast. That's what drinking was always all about. And if you're getting into the drinking culture but without the alcohol, what's the point?
Yeah.
Just have something
You're just
else to
having
drink.
empty calories.
Yeah, have something else to
basically.
drink.
Yeah.
There's no reason to. I don't know. So yeah, keep pushing that into 2024. Less beer, less wine, less everything.
Yeah. I think higher protein is a big one for me. Like I notice a difference between like when I'm actually having a day where I have like enough protein versus like days where I have like next to no protein. I'm not a fan of like cooking meat. It's just not my fave. Which is why I kind of rely on you to do it. And so when you don't do it, I don't eat it. And so I think that's something that I really want to prioritize because I think even just like looking at like iron levels and things like that is just and hormones and everything and blood sugar balance is just so important. And so I think for me, kind of making that a priority in my meals and kind of planning meals that each one has like enough protein in it is going to be a big one that I'm taking into 2024.
I think we should focus on that one. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
And I think we should focus on that one because protein neither of us are getting enough protein, right? Like if we're going to the gym, like the recommended is like you're supposed to have about, or if not more so, than 1 gram of protein per kilogram of weight. Oh, there goes the other light.
Oh no.
They're both dead.
Darkness.
It's okay. We only have a little bit longer and they can still see us.
Yeah.
For a little longer. All right. So if I weigh 180 pounds, I don't know how many kilograms. I'm going to estimate about 75 kilograms or 80 kilograms. That means I should be eating about 80 grams of protein a day. And that is really hard to do.
It is.
You have to be eating a lot of meat in order to do that. And meat in general is expensive. And so like you'd have to be I don't know, forking over quite a bit of cash in order to do that.
Yes and no, because like protein doesn't have to just come from meat. So like including things like lentils or like other like non-meat sources, and then just having it more consistently. Or like you do like protein shakes too, like bone broth protein or like something like
Sure,
that.
but like I do a protein shake, right? You put a scoop in there. How many grams of protein's in that?
Like 25.
Yeah, so it's like in order for me to hit my amount, I need to do like 3 to 4 protein shakes a day.
No, but like you mix it in with like everything else that you're including in a meal.
So it's like, okay, I have oatmeal in the morning. There's no protein in that.
Right.
I mean, I have like a scoop of that nut butter, so that might have a little bit.
Yeah.
And then for lunch, I don't know what I have for lunch. I have some eggs that have some protein in it, lentils.
Yeah.
So maybe that has like
I would say that's a
30
decent amount of
grams.
protein. Yeah.
But then for dinner,
Because
what?
you'll do like five eggs. How many eggs do
Four
you do?
eggs
4
typically,
eggs.
yeah.
Yeah. And then adding in the lentils, so yeah, like that would be enough protein for you.
Mhm.
Breakfast definitely not enough because there wouldn't be much. Like you maybe get like 4 grams of protein, like once you include like between the oatmeal and the nut butter. Protein shake would be another 25 to 30. And then dinner, yeah. Usually we have like a meat mixed with like some veggies or something, or like we'll have a soup with like chicken in it or something. But yeah, it's just something that like we have to be, if we're not conscious of it and like something that we're actually like planning for and like intentional about it, it's just we're never gonna hit those protein goals. And like for example, like we're thinking about like family planning soon, and like for women, like it's even more important because like menstrual cycles and everything else, it's like we're losing iron, and then also too for like fetal development, it's like really important. So that's like one for me that I really need to like actually make happen.
Yeah. More meat, 2024.
Yeah.
More
Or
consistent.
not necessarily meat, but like just protein in general.
Yeah, but where else are you gonna get like a decent source of protein besides meat?
Yeah, I know, but like not everyone's gonna be eating meat, right? Like there are vegetarians and like vegans, and it's like not necessarily wrong. It's just like you have to be even more intentional about it and like getting more variety in your diet.
Yeah.
It's not impossible. It's just you have to work really hard at it.
My recommendation for vegans and vegetarians, couldn't tell you.
You
Not
have
an
to
expert.
supplement with B12 for sure.
Sure, supplement, yes, but like in terms of dietary changes in order to get more protein, I couldn't tell you.
You have to include dairy at that point for the most part. Like I
Yeah,
feel
but
like
if you're vegan,
I know, but that's what I'm saying is like vegan I feel like is the harder one because it's like that way, like unless you're really just having like beans and lentils all day, like that's a really, really tricky one to like meet protein goals. Whereas like vegetarian is a lot more doable because like a lot of people who are vegetarian will eat like eggs and dairy. And they can be really good about like achieving those goals. So it's like I wouldn't write that off.
all right. If they can do it, they can do it.
Yeah.
I don't have any advice for them. I don't know.
You're not a nutritionist either, so that's okay.
Yeah, I legally can't give out advice.
Yeah, I know.
That's funny. All right, so meat into 2024.
Protein.
Protein into 2024. Oh, man.
Oh,
But for us, that's meat. That
super
means
random
meat.
one that I'm taking from this year into next year. I learned a better way of like shampooing and like taking care of my hair. Like I didn't know that like you're supposed to emulsify the shampoo before you put it on your head. And so like I would always just like squirt it in my hand and then like lather it up when it was on my head. And so like you're supposed to emulsify it and then do it. But I flipped, so I actually do conditioner now before I shampoo my hair. So it's like the opposite of what like I was always taught. And so ever since I've been doing conditioner and then lathering up the like lather in my hands before I shampoo, it's like my hair gets way less greasy. It like dries less frizzy and it's a lot easier to manage. And so that's one thing that like super random, but I'm gonna continue doing that for sure.
That doesn't make sense to me. Why you? I thought the entire point of conditioner was to use it after shampoo. I thought that was the entire point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but why? Who said?
I don't know. Like everybody.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is like now I've flipped it because I forget where I read it, but it was someone who was like a hair care expert or whatever, and they recommended flipping it. I was like, let me try it just to see. And like, and I think part of it too is that the shampoos now are a lot more conditioning than they used to be. So it's just like I feel like it gets some of that excess oil out of your way. But all I know is it's working for me. It's making my hair a lot easier to manage. So I'm gonna keep doing
I'm
that.
so confused. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, shampoo then conditioner, to me, if I had to use an analogy, is like a horse pulling a cart. You know what I mean? If you were to use conditioner then shampoo, it'd be like seeing a horse push a cart. And I'll be like, what?
All I'm saying is that it works. My hair used to be a lot more frizzy, a lot harder to style, and it used to get greasy much faster, and now it doesn't.
Okay.
So.
You do you.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get that one.
Do you have any random ones that you would say, aside from the alcohol?
Or in terms of like hygiene or something like that?
No,
or?
just like in general, like anything that you learned this year that you're like taking in next year. Like, and it could be something as random as like conditioning before you shampoo.
I think that I'm going to continue working on being I don't know how to describe it. Stoic's not the right word for it, but like communicating without being emotional about it. Or like letting other people's emotions affect me less. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If someone comes up to you freaking out about something, it doesn't mean you have to start freaking out about it also. Like, listen to what they're saying, think about it, and then respond to what they're saying. You know what I mean? You don't have to freak about it either. Versus like if someone's trying to get your attention or if someone's trying to bother you or something like that, it's like really, really just like focus on not letting them bother you if that's what they're trying to do, things like that. I don't know how else to describe it. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has an emotional state, and everybody's emotional state affects the emotional state of others, right? So if someone's getting frustrated, one of the reasons why I bring it up is because me and my buddy play video games together competitively. We try to beat the other team constantly, right? And so like me and him would make mistakes, and we would lose, and so we'd get frustrated about it. But then like depending on how the game goes, like one of us might get much more frustrated than the other, right? And so it's like that person's emotional state will rub off on you, but like how do you keep your emotional state solid without letting that person affect you? You know what I mean? I don't know how to describe mental game is a good word for it. Like I know athletes have like a mental game, you know what I mean? Like they don't let losing streaks or winning streaks or any sort of like or big crowds or anything like affect their mental state. You know what I mean? And so their mental game is on point.
Right.
They don't get discouraged. They don't play poorly because of whatever outside influences. They don't let other people's emotions or other people's words affect them. And they continuously perform at the way they're supposed to perform because their mental game's on point. Like if you're in a combat sport or if you're in any sort of like competitive sport like tennis or something like that, and like your opponent's trash talking you, really like trying to rile you up to get you off your game, your mental game should be focused on your game and not about what they're telling you and not letting them affect you.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good analogy or not.
I think that's a really good one. Like keeping your mind focused on whatever it is that you're focused on, and like not being swayed from that. But I also think, kind of going back to the emotional aspect of it, like having that emotional boundary too. Like, for example, like I do body work, and it's like if someone comes into me like really anxious or really whatever, it's hard not to absorb those emotions. And so just kind of learning ways or strategies that you can to kind of protect and like realize like what's your emotional state versus theirs, and like keeping your own. I think that's really important. That's a good one, babe.
Like we're watching Yellowstone, and if you guys want to check it out. But like one of the characters on Yellowstone, his name is Jamie. His mental game is crap.
Yeah, so easily manipulated.
It's not even the manipulation part of it, but like he's having a normal day, and then somebody throws some sort of emotional crap at him, and he's broken. You know what I mean? He just flips off also.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have any sort of steady state in which like everybody could be freaking around him, and he's just steady about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Jamie on that show has no mental game.
Yeah.
Beth has a little bit more mental game, but she still gets flustered and still gets like thrown around. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Somebody like Rip or Casey.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Their mental game is just like,
yeah.
You know, it's like they know what they're doing, and they're gonna do it, and they see people around them trying to throw them off and do all the kinds of stuff, but no, they're not gonna be thrown off.
Yeah.
they're going to deal with the situation and they're going to get it done and they're going to do what they want to do. And then afterwards, they'll address other people's emotional states.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's a really good one. I think another one for me is just kind of bringing it back to basics, because I think I've strayed away from a lot of things that have worked for me in the past. Like before, I used to do yoga a couple times a week. I used to do breath work. I used to meditate every day. And that really helped me as far as like my mental well-being. I was a lot calmer. I was a lot more focused. I was a lot more just intentional instead of reactive, I think. And less like flying by the seat of my pants. Because like those things like nourish me spiritually, and I feel like I have really fallen off of that, and I haven't been intentional about it at all. And that's something that I really want to go back to, because like I notice the difference of like who I am when I do those things versus who I am when I'm not. And that's something I really want to bring back in 2024.
Yeah, it's a good way of doing it, I think. Like there has to be an active way of like working on your mental game. Last example I'm going to give that might be able to resonate with kids younger is like, imagine you're playing a video game with a team. Like you are on a team with people and you're fighting another team of people and whatever, right? Now imagine the worst player on your team who consistently makes mistakes, who throws the game, who all the kinds of stuff and like just does awful, is terrible at the game, right? And you're carrying him hard. You're like trying to win just in carrying him and all that kind of stuff. And then imagine that really poor player comes out and says, wow, you're trash, you're bringing me down. You know what I mean? It's just like, you're sitting there carrying his ass, and then he comes out and has the gall to say you're bad at the game. Like, if that doesn't flip you out, I don't know what does. Because I feel like that would trigger immediately anger in everybody. You know what I mean? Like, imagine you're playing basketball and like the worst person on your team comes up to you and says, wow, you're shit at basketball. Like, bro, like, fucking get the ball in the hoop. Do it once. I already did it 20 times. Do it fucking once, right? It's like, don't come up to me and say I'm bad when you didn't do shit. But then, like, that's him throwing your mental game.
Yeah.
Like, if your mental game is solid and some guy who's on your team who's super bad at the game and calls you bad, it shouldn't throw you off the mental game. Yeah. Like, if you have good, solid, strong mental game, you know what I mean? Someone coming up to you and telling you you're trash, it's like, it doesn't affect you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good one.
It's so tilting. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, I think that anybody who's either played League of Legends, played Fortnite, or
you've lost me, babe.
I know. Let me talk to the crowd. League of Legends is a really big game. Everybody plays it. Dota, similar style game. Fortnite, very similar style game where like you might be on a team, right? League of Legends, if you have someone who's really bad at the game who continuously throws and gets killed and just feeds the other team and then comes out and calls you trash, that is so tilting. Same with Fortnite. You go out there and like some guy continuously just throws like and gets killed and you have to continuously save him and then he calls you bad. That's tilting. You know what I mean? And don't get tilted. If you get tilted, your mental game is not strong enough. That's all I have to say. But it's really hard.
Yay, 2024.
I know, for the kids. Any last thoughts?
No, I think we had a good combo.
Yeah, I think so too. Kind of got off into like the weeds a little bit at the end, but I think it's okay. I think the kids should understand. I'm also not in the picture enough. I'm like all the way out here yet. Should say a little
Dark
closer.
and mysterious.
I know, all of our lights went out too.
I know.
All right, so what's the plan? Are we going to try Wednesday or next Sunday?
Let's aim for Wednesday.
What time, 7 o'clock-ish?
Yeah, let's do it.
Before we get too tired?
Yep.
All right, sounds good. Let's do Wednesday, 7 o'clock.
Awesome.
I shouldn't block that because people can't hear me.
Yay.
All right, signing out. I'm Chinggis.
I'm Bethany.
We're the Calstons, Tips for Your Boyfriend. We'll see you Wednesday.
Yeah.